next speaker, Matthew, is going to talk about the Mcquire program. Take it away, Matthew.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I was kind of worried that I'd be the only person in this room, so I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and hopefully what I'm going to say over the next 10 minutes might resonate. I am a person who's had a stutter all their lives, and growing up, it was very, very severe. It was one of those cases that my mum will always say, even the first sentences I tried to put together, I struggled. There was these hesitations, these blocks, and it very soon turned into those facial tensions. So I've never had that luxury of ever being able to speak with any fluency. And I know that I'll have a stutter for the rest of my life. My theme for this talk, it's not just my experience of the Mcquire program. I also put down about not settling for second best, because that's certainly something that I've done all my life when it comes to speaking. So a little bit of background. I had this stutter and it got worse and worse when I was at school, to a point that I just stopped speaking for several months. I found it easier to just act as though I was mute rather than going through that daily struggle of trying to get my words out. I realized though that this was holding me back, and I tried to speak, but every time I spoke, I struggled. And I've always been in awe growing up of these people who stuttered, who could hide it. And they could come across in any situation as a normal, fluent speaker, whatever that is. And then I realized that they do this by hiding so much, by substituting all those words, by avoiding speaking in situations. And I realized that their fear was just as big as my fear. Whereas my fear, it was obvious, I was overt. They had a different type of fear, that fear of being found out. That one time the mask would slip, and all of a sudden, in the most unlikely situation, people would find out that they stutter. So it's true that whatever type of stutter you have, there always is that fear. And I grew up trying all types of speech therapies in the UK. And I'll always be eternally thankful, grateful for all the work, all the help these people gave me. But I'll be honest, it was down to me because I wasn't prepared to try or work hard. And therefore, these were unsuccessful. And I remember when I was 16, my speech therapist asked me a question. He said, Matthew, what's the one thing you hate most about having a stutter? And I think he was expecting me to say something like, I don't like reading out in class, or I really don't like introducing myself to strangers. And I actually gave an answer which for a 16-year-old was quite profound, and I think it shocked him. I said, I know it's going to stop me from fulfilling my potential and my dreams. And he was kind of taken aback, but it was true. There were so many things growing up that I could do, that I wanted to do, but I didn't do. And every time it was my stutter that I used as that convenient excuse. I could have done that, but I had a stutter. And therefore, I realized that I was going to spend maybe the rest of my life like that. And therefore, I had to change. And in a very fortuitous way, I found out about the Mcquire program. Now, I'll say from the onset, this isn't going to be an advert for the Mcquire program. I'm not here to sell anything. I can only give my honest, my open experience. So that experience started just over 28 years ago. And I went on to the course a broken person, very desperate. And I honestly thought the Mcquire program was taking advantage of my desperation. It was £500 for just 4 days. And as ever, I had to get my mum to call up and enroll me on the course. But I can honestly say those 4 days were the most life-changing things I've ever done. It was the most physically demanding 4 days. It was the most emotionally draining 4 days. And psychologically, I was empty afterwards. But for the first time ever in my life, I'd met people who understood me. And like I said before, I'll always appreciate the speech therapists who helped me. But because they never had a stutter, they'd never walked in my shoes. And just to hear the experiences, the episodes that other people had had, it just resonated with me. All the stories they would talk about, how would they hide their stutter, how they would avoid situations. One girl, she said her feet were a size 5 and all her shoes were a size 7. And she'd walk into a shoe shop, and rather than just asking for a size 5, she'd ask for 2 sizes too bigger and just get out the shop as quickly as she could. And to a fluent speaker, you might think, wow, that's crazy. But for me, I thought I'd do that because I did anything I could to hide my stutter. So like I said, this Mcquire program, I was skeptical, cynical, but it worked. And what really worked was the after support, being able to call up people, speak with them all across the world. And again, these people weren't qualified speech therapists, but what they had were the same experiences that I had. And it taught me to be honest. They taught me to be my real self and to accept, look, there's no cure for stuttering. This is something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So you can either work hard and practice and be able to control it, or you can go back and spend the rest of your life how you used to. And therefore, for me, it was a pretty simple choice. And I've spoken with people in the past who've talked about just accepting your stutter, almost say this is your true voice, your real voice, and you should accept it. And I've always thought that even if the rest of the world totally accepted stuttering, even if the fluent population thought it was cool, that it was great to stutter, I never could. From a personal point of view, I just could never accept it. I didn't like it. The way it made me sound, the way it made me look, more importantly, the way it made me feel. And that's a very personal choice, I know. But I was someone that just never could accept the fact that I had a stutter, and therefore I'm willing to practice and continue to practice. I've often made this argument, and I'm not trying to be flippant here, but I wear glasses. And I wear glasses because it helps me. It benefits me. It makes me able to do things that I probably couldn't if I didn't. And that's how I felt about my speech. I honestly felt as though there were certain jobs I couldn't do because of my stutter. There were certain goals I couldn't do because of my stutter. And it's true that I've failed many, many times. But my reasons for failing aren't my speech. I probably haven't fulfilled my potential at work. It's probably because I'm not motivated enough. It's not my speech. I haven't fulfilled my potential as a football coach. But again, it's because I'm not knowledgeable enough. It's nothing to do with my speech. And I think my biggest worry as a 16-year-old was to hit the age of 80, 90 and look back and think, what if? And I honestly believe there's a beautiful phrase by Confucius, a quote, and it says, a man has two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. And therefore, I thought my journey started when I was 23, where I felt I had this second chance to be able to speak, to be able to express myself. And I'm proud to say that I have worked hard. I'm willing to work hard, and it's something I'd like to be able to look back on when I am 80. Did your best. So the Mcquire program for me was life-changing, but I fully accept it's not for everybody. Like I said from the start, I've never been one to try and sell the program. All I can do is give my personal experience. But what I would encourage people to do, if they want to change, then go for it. If you think you're not happy with your current role, or that your stutter, your stammer is holding you back in any way, then why not do something about it? Or why not look in to do something about it? It's very much an individual choice. It was very much my choice, but it remains probably the best choice I've made with regards to my happiness and my communication skills. Has anybody got any questions? I know there's one or two familiar faces here who've probably experienced the Mcquire, and they've probably got their own opinion. But if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take them. So the person's asked about the name of the program. It's called the Mcquire program, and it was set up by a man called David Mcquire, and he too has a stutter. So, and he still has to practice every day.
Michael O'Shea, sorry I was late, Matthew. Just a question for you. Deep down, would you say that the Mcquire program and its support work that it gave you, that it worked because of one vital component, and that is that you worked? It would never have worked unless you worked.
Yeah, I think you get what you work for, not what you wish for. And however hard I tried and wished that I could be a decent speaker, it was never going to happen. It meant me going out and practicing, and I still practice every single day. But when you enjoy something, you don't see it as work. Other people, fluent speakers, just take things for granted. Whereas for me, I love the fact that I can be in a room full of strangers and enjoy speaking to them. I never take that for granted. Even 28 years after my first course, I love the fact that I can order in restaurants. I love the fact I can read to my children. These are the things growing up I thought were impossible. They were just for other people, but it's down to hard work, and you're the one that makes this happen. Thank you for your question, Michael. It's lovely to see you.
You too.
Anybody else got any questions before we hand over to the next person? Well, all I'll say, I'll leave you with thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. I was quite nervous about this, I'll be honest. I know in the past that very much in the early days, Dave Mcquire used to agitate a lot of people in the speech therapy community and quite confrontational. But those days thankfully have gone. I honestly think we're all in the same boat. we're all here to support one another. And I guess it's about finding what helps you and what works for you. And I think we can all back each other and all respect people's choices. So thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it. Have a very good day. And I just say to Phyllis, thank you so much. I love listening to the end of your speech. It was so moving, so heartwarming, and you're amazing.